If you wish to ask a question, or indeed if somebody's talking, leave your question in the chat and either Rob or I will pick that up. There is no requirement per our constitution to record the numbers of yeses, nos or abstentions in votes. We'll use a show of hands, so we'll do that electronically when we come to voting. We did have some apologies. I'm only going to give you the number. So we had 4. We've got 37 people signed up for this meeting and 28 confirmed. So hopefully by the time we get to somewhere in it, we'll have something like that number. I'm just going to read out the notice because it's good practice to do that. So this is the notice for the first annual general meeting. And notice is hereby given that the first annual general meeting of the Heritage Volunteering Group will be held by Zoom at 2 p.m. on Friday the 9th of June 2023 to transact the following business. Ordinary business to receive and, if thought fit, to adopt the report of the Executive Board and the independently reviewed accounts for the year ending the 31st of March 2023. 2, to elect to the board or re-elect to the board the following members of the Executive Board who are retiring in accordance with the Constitution and being eligible to offer themselves for re-election for 3 years. So there's Charlie Dean and I, who were co-opted onto the board and need to be elected, and then Rob Jackson and Tamsin Russell, who will be re-elected onto the board. And then number 3 is to agree that the Executive Board should consider whether to appoint Hannah Colwell or any other suitably qualified individual as independent examiner / auditor of the Heritage Volunteering Group and to authorise the Executive Board to fix their remuneration. And this was by order of the board dated the 29th of May 2023. So now I'm going to pass over to Rob. And we're right on time, and we're going to hear from Laura.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. Hello, everybody. If you don't know who I am, I'm Rob Jackson. I'm that name that's just been mentioned in the notice of the meeting, part of the Executive Board for HVG, and hopefully about to be re-elected as such as well. I have been working with the team pulling the AGM together, and I'm really pleased we've got 2 great speakers for you today. In a second, we're going to hear from Laura at NCVO, who is now leading the team that are responsible for the vision for volunteering work over the coming weeks. And then later on, we're going to hear from Catrin, as Sarah said, who is the winner, or was the winner last year, of our Heritage Volunteer Leader of the Year award. And so Catrin's going to share a little bit about that experience and what's happened subsequently. But Sarah, if you could bring up Laura's slides. Without further ado, I'll throw straight over to Laura, who's going to speak for about 10 minutes, just kind of fill you in on the vision for volunteering and where things are at.
Okay, are you not seeing Laura's slides? No, wait a minute. Sorry, technical hitch, as these things normally are. Okay.
Thank you, Rob. And I think I've noticed on my video that there's quite dramatic lighting in this room for some reason, so I'm not quite at scale on this side of my face. Yeah, some very dramatic lighting on my video, so apologies for that. Lovely. Thank you for that introduction. And huge thanks for having me at your first ever AGM. That's a very exciting thing. A few days late, I guess, but I still think it's worth saying Happy Volunteers Week. I hope everybody's Volunteers Week has been a good one. I know this is a really busy time for lots of the people in this virtual room, and also Happy Pride Month. So lots of lovely things happening. Yeah, so again, thank you for having me. My name is Laura Lowther and I am Vision for Volunteering Lead. So I am based at NCVO, but very much part of a partnership project. So that partnership project includes NCVO, obviously, Volunteering Matters, AVM, Sport England and NAVCA as well. Next slide, please. Thank you. Sorry, that's not. Oh, there it is. Lovely. So Lots of you will be familiar with the Vision for Volunteering, lots of you won't be, so just a little bit of background. So the kind of motivation around this a few years ago was simply on the basis that volunteering is changing. We all know that. So we know that volunteering isn't as accessible or equally enjoyable for everyone as we might hope. We saw massive changes throughout the pandemic, of course. Some of this was good, some of it wasn't, some of it was permanent, some of it wasn't. So real, I don't need to explain any of those, absolutely huge changes. We also see and continue to see changing patterns in who volunteers, how, and in what activities and roles. So I'm sure you'll all be familiar, even just as a basic change, of the kind of rise of informal volunteering. And that can be, like a lot of things, kind of provide a lot of opportunities, but a lot of challenges as well. And for the most kind of sort of up-to-date information and research and data, the Time Well Spent report, so there's been a few iterations of that now, and there's been one just released. And please do go and have a look at that, because there's some really rich and kind of helpful insight there. Next slide, please. So the model that was used, some of you might have seen this if you've read a little bit about the Vision for Volunteering before. On the left, in that yellow area, we have business as usual. So again, if we're thinking in pandemic terms, which lots of us do these days, kind of pre or post-pandemic, that idea of a volunteer army or a civic corps, and that traditional kind of sense of CSR volunteering. That's not to say any of this kind of yellow side of the model is bad or is disappearing or whatever that might be, but it's one way, that kind of status quo perhaps a few years ago. What we have in the middle is disruptive innovation, some of it welcome, some of it not. Again, the pandemic, but also digital technology's role in how people volunteer, how we work in terms of the brokerage around volunteering, and again, just touching on that growth in informal volunteering. So we know that lots of these changes have been coming and continue to come, but certainly the past few years has seen that really snap into focus. Thank you for posting that link, Rob, that's super helpful. And then on the right, we have emerging futures. So again, this isn't about this is what everything should look like and there's only one way of doing it, but I think just bringing this sense of an emerging future into the mix so that we have a really rich kind of landscape and environment and ecosystem around volunteering. So emerging futures around decentralized power, people-driven activism, and open data as well. Next slide, please. Anyone who's looked at the Vision for Volunteering website will know that there's absolutely huge amounts of research and writing and thoughts and case studies. And what we're trying to do at the moment, or what we have been doing, is boiling things down to some questions, which I think are always a good place to start. And it helps us just mull over ideas and seek inspiration. So what do volunteers need now and in the next 10 years in order to make their most effective contributions? And then on the other side of that coin is how can we let go of practices that no longer serve us and tackle some of volunteering's most long-standing inequalities? Next slide. I'm going to whip through a little bit quicker, so I've got time for a little bit of a chat. So the Vision for Volunteering is a 10-year collaborative project designed to create a better future for volunteering. So I'm a fan of Simon Sinek's model in terms of start with your why. So our why, which is a nutshell version of what we've just been talking about, is that volunteering is changing. It needs to change. We want it to change. We want it to evolve, and we want it to be fit for purpose in the future. So through the Vision for Volunteering, we are embarking on movement building. So that's connecting and networking and moving forward as individuals, as communities, as organizations and projects. And the Vision for Volunteering team will enable that through trying to create some of those conditions around building capacity, providing resources, support, connectivity, and platforming some stories as well, which is a big part of it. Next slide, please. So many of you will be familiar with the themes or the concept of themes that we have around the Vision for Volunteering. So as well as them being broad themes, they are also that real kind of changing future that we want to see. So the first one is around awareness and appreciation. So a future where a culture of volunteering is part of everyone's life and volunteer roles are given the recognition they deserve. Again, thinking about questions we can ask ourselves to pose some conversation, to spark some ideas, is how can you, either as an individual or an organisation or a community, best respond to the motivations and preferences of volunteers? Next slide. Our next theme is power. So again, a future where volunteers and the communities that they serve lead on change that matters to them. So questions that we can start to ask ourselves are, what power needs shifting to a more appropriate place, and how will you start that shift? But this can sometimes be a particular theme that sparks a lot of interest or conversation. Shifting power isn't always the right thing to do in certain scenarios. I come from a hospice background. We're not suggesting that you might shift all the power of a really specialist, experienced nurse to a volunteer and let them crack on. That's not what we're saying when we're talking about shifting power. But quite often there are scenarios and room within organisations and projects to shift a bit of power towards volunteers, allowing them to make more impact and get more out of it. Thank you. Equity and inclusion, a future where it's easy for people to give their time and energy to the causes they care about. What barriers are at play? Starting to think about what barriers might be preventing volunteers from engaging or different communities from engaging, and how might you remove them? Next slide, please. Collaboration, a future where collaboration is a natural and spontaneous part of what we all do together. And again, a really simple question to ask ourselves is, how can we make great things happen by involving others? Next slide, please. Experimentation. So this is the fifth theme. It's, I think, my favourite. A future in terms of volunteering where communities aren't afraid to try new things, to develop their own innovative solutions to engaging and supporting volunteers. What is possible is a brilliant question to ask ourselves. What if, that sort of really open question. I always say magic wand time. If we had a magic wand, what would you like to do? I think as well, it's worth talking about through the lens of the vision, when we're talking about vision for volunteering, when we're talking about volunteering, we are talking about traditional volunteering, that kind of formal volunteering, but we are also talking about all sorts of other ways to volunteer as well, through mutual aid, informal volunteering, micro volunteering, being a good neighbour, everything kind of under that umbrella. So when we talk about volunteering in this context, we are using its most kind of expansive and inclusive interpretation. Next slide, please. Quick introduction to our Vision for Volunteering team. So my colleague Sarah is our Learning and Storytelling Officer. So hopefully that gives you a little idea of our kind of focus around developing stories and thinking about impact and change through storytelling. And we also have Sue, who looks after our network and engagement development as well. Next slide, please. So I've been in my post since March, so I think this is month 3 perhaps, so it's not been long at all, but it has been a busy few months. I've been getting out and about a lot, talking to volunteer projects up and down the country, big and small. We have an events programme online at the moment, so we have some in place. Yeah, lovely, very timely with the links there, Rob, thank you so much. So yeah, please do get involved in events. There's kind of bite-sized stuff, there's half-day workshops and everything in between. And we will be developing that further kind of after the summer as well. We have a learning and evaluation partner, People's Voice Media, who really focus on storytelling. They have a model called community reporting, which is all about lived experience and bringing that impact to life through storytelling and connecting and exploring ideas. So even in the past few weeks, I've had conversations with people around, and when I say people, I mean organisations of all different shapes and sizes, about developing toolkits around the vision, exploring how we can use the vision to develop strategy. I think the vision for me, you can use it in whatever way you like. It can be a framework, it can be a conversation starter, a manifesto, not a political one, but a manifesto nonetheless. A call to action or a set of values. It can kind of be all of these things or any one of these things, whichever kind of sparks a bit of interest to you. And the next slide, please. Overall, our focus in terms of our conversations and how we're trying to frame things at the moment when we're engaging with people. Again, more questions, which are just really good places to start. So what excites or interests you about the vision for volunteering? And that will be many different things to many different people. And what support do you need, either as an individual or an organisation or a sector? Obviously, we have a sector gathered here today to make those positive changes. Next slide, please. Lots of ways to get involved. Obviously, Rob's just posted the events list there. Please do sign up to our mailing list to keep in touch on socials. And if anyone would like kind of a bit of a deeper chat about their ideas or their organisation, please do get in touch and we can start a conversation. Thank you very much.
Brilliant.
I think I'm just about finished on time there.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Laura.
Thank you.
Really encourage everybody, if you haven't already, to get engaged in the vision. It is a really big opportunity. We've got 9 years left now in that original 10-year window, and there's loads of opportunities coming up. Laura, can I just quickly check, because I couldn't find the link when I was digging them out, the meeting that you've got on, the open meeting that you've got on Tuesday, is that now fully booked?
I don't think it is. When we're finished chatting here, I'll dig it out and pop it on the chat, and if not, I'll send it to you afterwards and we can share that around the group for sure.
That would be awesome.
You would be most welcome at that.
Thank you. Brilliant. Thank you. Really appreciate that. Right, I'm going to hand over to Matt now, who is our esteemed chair, needs no introduction. Matt's going to kind of take you through his first chair's annual report and a little bit of a sneaky peek at the work that we've been doing as an exec around where HVG is going next. So over to you, Matt.
That is an old photo, so our photo must be 10 years old. There's no grey hairs in it, so I think I need to get a new photo taken. Thank you everybody for coming along today. Really appreciate it, especially on such a nice day. So I am going to share my screen. So bear with me a second. Hopefully you can all see that. I'm going to put that on presenter mode, and hopefully that looks okay. Rob, can you just give me a shout out to say what you can see?
Yep, I can see that fine, Matt.
Brilliant, super. Well, as Rob said, I am Matt, and I'm head of volunteering at Science Museum Group and chair of the Heritage Volunteering Group. And in a moment, I'm going to talk to you about the work that we've been doing over the past year to unlock the power of volunteering, and also to touch on the strategic review work that we've been doing. But before I do that, I just want to say massive thank you to Laura for that really interesting presentation, and also to Catrin for joining us today. I'm really looking forward to hearing what you've got to say, Catrin. So this is the start of the presentation, and again I just want to say a few more thank you. So firstly to our executive board, without whom none of what I'm going to talk about in a moment would have been possible. So massive thank you to Vanessa Feed, our vice chair, Ruth Farnan, our secretary, Sarah Fitzpatrick, our treasurer, Charlie Dean, our membership executive, Rhiannon Green, our events exec, and Rob and Tamsin, our non-portfolio members. And I'd also like to say a big thank you to Claire Haggerty, who stepped down earlier in the year. She was our membership secretary. Now the work of the exec is key to delivering what we do at Heritage Volunteering Group, but it is really well supported by our advisory group. So I'd also like to say a big thank you to all our advisory group members that are on the call today. So there's no getting away from it, is there? The last 12 months have been a year of challenge and change for society and the heritage sector, with the pressures of COVID giving way to a cost of living crisis. And the financial strain that has been brought to bear on our sector from these challenges is significant. And to anyone that works in our profession, it is clear that volunteers have a major role to play, not only in helping rebuild the sector, but enabling it to thrive. And at the Heritage Volunteering Group, we are here to help make this happen and to ensure that the heritage sector is able to unlock the power of volunteering and deliver operationally, strategically and socially impactful volunteer programme when it is most needed. To enable us to do this more effectively and help secure our future, last year we made a significant change in our structure, and in April 2022 we became an unincorporated association. New constitution was introduced, and our steering group at the time was split into the executive board, which are responsible for running the organisation, and our advisory group, which, as I just mentioned, provide us with additional support. And this was really the precursor to the strategic review work that we've been doing over the last few months, and which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. Ultimately, though, we remain a membership organisation, and we're here to help you and the sector realise the true potential of volunteering to transform organisations, lives and communities. You are the heart of what we do, and it's been fantastic to see our membership grow by over 26% over the past year. And today we have over 556 members with broad representation from across the UK, whilst also drawing membership from Belgium, Germany, Qatar and Uganda. Creating connections between members has always been important to what we do. And that's why this year we have continued to develop our relations with existing heritage volunteer management networks, providing support and opportunities for 7 regional heritage volunteering groups and a further 5 other volunteer management networks to come together, share ideas, work collaboratively and learn from one another. This year, we have also continued to create connections through our programming offer, giving members the opportunity to connect, learn and support one another in a variety of different ways. Our coffee afternoons, which hopefully many of you have been along to, have provided a friendly online environment for members to meet and discuss the issues affecting our profession. Last year, over 200 people took part in sessions exploring topics ranging from family volunteering to the impact of the cost of living crisis and how to co-produce volunteering strategies. Of course, our flagship event is our conference, and Heritage Volunteering 2022, which was sponsored by Volunteero, took place online in November last year, and it was attended by 131 people. Ticket prices were frozen at 2021 rates to reflect the budget constraints faced by many of our members. Through the theme, One Profession, Many Skills, we explored how we can bring our expertise and past experiences to bear on our work with volunteers. Our keynote speaker, Sean Delaney, who you can see here, launched the event by encouraging us to explore the various skills we possess and how we can use them to more effectively deliver our work. Over the following 2 days, we ran 8 workshops covering a variety of topics, including engaging young people digitally, maintaining inclusivity in volunteering, and what to consider when implementing a volunteer management system. The conference was also gave us the opportunity to present the 2022 Volunteer Leader of the Year award, and we're going to be hearing from Catrin later. And this is our chance to celebrate excellence in volunteer leadership with a focus on innovation, collaboration and passion. And this year we received 12 nominations. And I won't say any more about the Heritage Access Project, because I know that's what Catrin is going to be talking about later. In 2022, equality, diversity and inclusion continued to be an important area of focus for us. We piloted our EDI Action Learning Programme, providing a safe space for problem solving and learning for a small cohort of members. Alongside this, we continue to run our dedicated monthly EDI forum and curate our EDI Trello board, ensuring it acts as an up-to-date resource hub for our members. Creating connections that enable us to advocate more effectively for heritage volunteering is a really important part of our work. And to do this year, we have continued to work with DCMS, playing an active role in the Volunteering Guidance Reference Group and ensuring that heritage is considered within the wider discussions around volunteering. Alongside this, we champion volunteering as members of Character Matters, which is a workforce steering group for our sector led by Arts Council England and comprised of organisations including Museum Association and the National Lottery Heritage Fund. We have also worked closely with Scotland's preeminent heritage volunteering network, Make Your Mark, and together have organised, chaired and run a series of online events, most recently around removing class barriers to volunteering. We also work with Subject Specialist Network Consortium, who support the sharing of knowledge, advocacy and skills across the heritage sector. Like many organisations, we have a strong digital presence. And through social media, we champion volunteering and share best practice. Across Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn, we share content on general volunteering news, volunteer management guidance, leadership and EDI. And last year, our content was viewed over 95,000 times, and we saw growth across all of our channels. And today we have over 6,700 followers on Twitter and 690 members in our Facebook group. And if you're not one of those, please just hop on our channels and give us a like and a follow. Alongside our live programming, we offer a range of video content to support your professional development, and our YouTube channel plays host to a variety of content ranging from strategic development to family volunteering. And in the past year, we saw a 15% increase in our followers, with our content being viewed over 1,600 times, and this equates to about 72 hours worth of viewing. Of course, we recognise that not all of our members are active on social media, so to ensure everybody has access to the latest information on volunteering and the tools needed to support their development, we produce 2 monthly newsletters, Staying Connected and Monthly Masterclass. And last year, these were read, or Staying Connected was read 2,349 times, whilst Monthly Masterclass was read 1,682 times. We do know that sometimes they get lost in spam filters, so if you are not receiving them, please do check your spam filters. There'll be the latest monthly masterclass will be going out next Wednesday, so keep your eye open for that. Through our dedicated through the dedicated support of our exec, advisory group members and friends, we have delivered an incredible amount over this past year, but we want to do more. And that is why we've spent the last few months conducting a strategic review. And in a moment, I'm going to talk to you about the work we've done. But before I do that, I'm just going to give you a little bit of context around the journey we've been on over the last few years and also our previous strategy. So in 2017, we published our first strategy, Creating Connections, and this was our strategy for helping the sector unlock the power of volunteering through collaboration and sharing best practice. And during its lifetime, it's fair to say that we delivered quite a bit, but that strategy came to an end last year. And since then, we have worked with colleagues across the sector to create a new strategy, conducting research and roundtable discussions with members and sectoral bodies from the heritage sector and beyond. In a moment, I'm going to talk to you about our proposed vision, mission, values, and strategic priorities that came out of that work. First, though, I just want to remind you of our old vision and mission, which you can see here on screen. Both were fairly long, and there were suggestions that they were repetitious. There was a lack of clarity around what we meant by unlocking the power of volunteering, and that the language we used needed to be more visionary and engaging. So, responding to your feedback, we have created what we hope is an inspirational set of vision, mission, priorities, and values that build on one another, setting out where we see the future and how we're going to get there. So, as we look to the future, our vision is to inspire transformative volunteering across the heritage sector. And we'll achieve this by enabling the sector to realise the potential of volunteering to transform organisations, lives and communities. And what we mean by this is that we believe volunteering can do so much more than just support the operational needs of our sites. By thinking differently about how we work, who we recruit, and the partners that we involve, we can deliver volunteering experiences that transform lives and communities and which build political capital. The Heritage Volunteering Group is here to help the sector to do this. And in future, we will be working at a sectoral, organisational, and individual level. Our work will then be split into 4 strategic priorities, which will essentially reflect this need to work at a sectoral, organisational and individual level. And specifically, we will be working with sector bodies to advocate more effectively for volunteering and volunteer engagement. Alongside this, we will be working with organisations to help them develop the capacity to realise the transformative potential of volunteering within their organisation. And we will, of course, continue to support you and your development as volunteer engagement professionals, paid or unpaid. Finally, we will be working internally to build a resilient and sustainable future for HVG, making sure that we're going to be around for many years to come. The way that we will deliver our work is outlined in our values, and these are what we hold dear and what will guide our behaviour and actions. So we will work with integrity, operating in an open, professional and ethical manner. We will be inclusive, champion diverse, equitable and inclusive practice. We will be innovative, fostering new ways of thinking and working, and we'll continue to be collaborative, inspiring and empowering others to collaborate and work together. And of course, we will be supportive, supporting you, our members, organisations and the sector to deliver greater impact through volunteering. At the Heritage Volunteering Group, we believe passionately in the potential of volunteering to transform organisations, lives and communities, and are committed to helping you, your organisations and the sector achieve this. We hope you're going to be joining us on what is going to be a very exciting journey for us. And just before I finish, as part of that really exciting journey, I'm really proud to be able to announce that we are going to be a project partner on AIM's Connected Communities project, which is a DCMS funded initiative that supports people living in social isolation in some of the poorest areas of the country to come together through volunteering. It's a really exciting project. You can find out about it online. I'm sure Rob will pop a link to it in the chat, and we're really proud to be involved in that. So that is the end of my presentation. So I shall stop sharing my screen and I shall hand back to Rob and Sarah.
Thanks, Matt. I would share the link, but I don't have it immediately to hand. Sorry about that, everybody. Somebody on the exec will find it. Has anybody got any questions for Matt on anything that he has mentioned? If you do, please throw them into the chat or raise your hands.
Stunned silence.
It's Friday afternoon.
I've put everyone to sleep. Apologies if I have.
Well, please feel free to put them in, and obviously you've got a means of getting in touch with Matt and the rest of us through the HVG website. So if you've got anything that you do want to ask or reflect or feedback on, then please do get in touch. We would love to hear from you. Thank you, Matt. I am going to hand over to Sarah, who is now going to take us through the kind of formal business of the AGM.
All right. So hello, everybody again. I'm going to take you through the formal business of the meeting. So this is the boring part, I'm afraid. And I shall try and do it as quickly and sort of neatly as possible. Normally we'd have a resolution here to receive and accept the minutes of the previous meeting, but since this is our first meeting, that's obviously not relevant. So I'm going to move straight away onto the accounts. And I'm going to talk a little bit through the accounts before I ask you to hopefully accept them. And this slide just shows you our accounts. We, as Matt said in his talk, became an independent unincorporated association last year, and prior to that the Heritage Volunteering Group had operated under the umbrella of the Ashmolean, and so the first thing that you see here is a transfer of funds that they were holding on our behalf. And then you can see the other funds that we received in this financial year were from conference, and they were made up of two things: the sale of tickets, which generated £1,989.
Sorry, Sarah,
yes.
we can't see the slide that you're talking about. We're still on the formal business slide.
Oh, okay. I don't know why that's the case.
So I think you need to set your slideshow going. We can still see.
Yeah, okay. I've got too many slides, I think, here. So I'm going to stop the share. Sorry about that. And just close anything that I'm not. Okay. All right. So hopefully, if I do this again and share it, can you? I can't see what you're seeing, unfortunately. I've done something to my screen. Can you see the accounts now or not?
We can, Sarah, yeah.
Okay, so apologies for that. Yeah, so just to reiterate, so the £1,567 was a transfer of funds from the Ashmolean, and the conference funds that we received are split into two parts. So the sale of tickets generated just under £2,000, and then £1,000 was from sponsorship from Volunteero. That was split 750 for the main conference and 250 for the Volunteer of the Year. On the expenses side, we have normal operating funds. They were all budgeted. And this is a receipts and payments statement. So this is cash in and cash out. So you can see that we had £673 of payments that we made, which meant that we closed the year with cash at the bank of £3,883. Now, we knew that we were going to do a strategic review. We'd already set that in motion. So we have designated those funds. We've effectively put those funds, £2,000 to one side, so that we don't touch those, and those are just used for the review. So what we have here is £1,883, which is unrestricted funds, which are available for us to use for the next year, to meet our commitments and to fund the HVG group activities going forward. So I don't know if we've got any questions on that at all.
There's nothing currently in the chat, but if anybody does have any questions for Sarah, feel free to pop them in there.
Yeah. I mean, there's not a lot of activity at this moment in time. George, thank you. Looks good to you. Hopefully it looks good to everybody else as well. We'll find out in a minute. Okay, if there are no questions at all, then what we need to do is actually we need to resolve to receive and adopt the report of the board, and you'll have seen that there's quite a large report actually which goes with these accounts and the independently examined accounts for the financial year ending 31st of March 2023. Can I have, if there are no questions at all, somebody to propose that?
I'm happy to propose that, Sarah.
Thank you, Matt. And I also need somebody to second that.
Yep, I'll do that.
Richard, thank you. And I can't see the screen, so I won't be able to see the show of hands, but can we have a show of hands electronically, please? So if you could raise your hands. I don't know, can I raise my hand? I'm raising my hand, by the way, as well.
Worth saying, if nobody's sure how to do that, you can just press the reactions button and there's just a raise lower hand option there. And it looks like we've got raised hands from everyone almost, with the exception of
me, because I don't know how to do it with me sharing my screen. I can't see the thing. Okay, well, we had 20, we've got 21, or actually we've got 30 attendees. So with 21 and me, that's 22. Any body saying no or abstaining? Everybody lowers their hands, please. Any no's? Okay, yeah, so, yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Okay, so that means that the accounts are passed. Now, Charlie, Dean and myself joined the executive board during the year. So we've been co-opted onto the board, and we need to be elected onto the board properly. So I need to step back for this resolution, and Rob, sorry, I'm going to land you in it. Could you just run this particular one?
No problem at all. So exactly the same process as we've just done with the accounts. Could all those in favour of electing both Charlie and Sarah to the board please raise their virtual hands on Zoom? So we've got 20 and me included, that's 21. Thank you. If you could lower your hands now. Great. And then if we have any objections, please raise your hand. And any abstentions, please raise your hand.
Heritage Alliance is
Heritage Alliance is abstaining. Okay, that's it. You are duly elected. I'll hand back to you because I can't run the next bit.
Okay, so because we don't want to have all of the trustees ending their terms all at the same time, so we wouldn't have an executive board at all, we've got two people who are going to stand down at this meeting and then offer themselves for re-election. So that's Rob and Tamsin. And so this resolution is to re-elect both Rob and Tamsin back onto the executive board. So again, can we do exactly the same thing? So if you could raise your hand if you are in favour of having Rob and Tamsin voted in. Okay, so we've got 22, including me. And then anybody, so if you lower your hands, anybody against? No. Is that? No. Anybody against? No. And any abstentions at all other than the Heritage Alliance? No. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so the accounts were audited by an accountant, Miss Hannah Colwell. And so this is a resolution which allows the executive board to reappoint Hannah or indeed any other suitably qualified individual as auditor of the unincorporated association and to authorise the executive board to fix their remuneration. I think Matt is going to send Hannah some flowers, but Hannah was quite happy, since it was very small anyway, to just do this for us out of the goodness of her heart. So if we could do exactly the same process again. So if you raise your hands, if you're happy. So 90, 20, 21. Okay, so that's 22 ayes with me. And any no's at all? So no, I think that's all. So any no's? No at all? And any abstentions? No. Okay. All right. And finally, and then I'll be quiet. To propose a vote of thanks to the, oh, sorry, I needed to have, did we have, I didn't do seconders and proposers. Sorry, I do apologise. We've voted on these, but we should have had for each of 3, 4 and 5 a proposer and a seconder. Can I just have a proposer to elect the members of the board? So Charlie and I.
Yeah, I'll do that, Sarah.
Matt, okay, and a seconder.
Happy to do that, Sarah.
Okay, Vanessa. I will do Rob and Tamsin, and a seconder for that.
I can do that. That's fine.
Sorry, who was that? Ben?
It's Ben. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then for appointing Hannah, I need a proposer and a seconder.
I can do that, Sarah.
Okay, thank you. And somebody to second.
I can second. It's Ruth.
Ruth, thank you. All right. Okay, and then the final thing is to propose a vote of thanks to the independent examiner. And we don't need to vote on this. So I'm going to propose the vote of thanks. And if I could have a seconder for that, that will be.
I'll do that, Sarah.
Okay. All right. I suppose we could vote on it, but is everybody happy that we propose a vote of thanks for that? Yeah, okay. So if you just raise your hand, then we've got that. All right, thank you. Okay, so that finishes the formal business. So we're now going to move to the informal business, and I'm going to hand back over to Rob.
Thank you, Sarah. And thank you, everybody, for engaging in that process. I don't think I've seen so many people on one call actually use Zoom's raise hand feature in one go. So, I mean, as a trainer, I would love it if people use that more often. So that was brilliant. Thank you, everybody. I don't know what your secret is, Sarah, but it worked. It's my very great pleasure, before we round out today's meeting, to introduce Catrin to you. So those of you who were at our conference last year will remember that Catrin was awarded the 2022 Volunteer Leader of the Year, which we're still congratulating Catrin on 9 months afterwards. So she's very kindly agreed to come back and speak a few words to us all as part of the AGM today. So welcome, Catrin, and I'm going to hand straight over to you.
Thanks very much, Rob. I don't have any slides. Just I thought it would be easier to just kind of say a few words, as Rob mentioned. Just to do a visual description of myself, in case you weren't able to see the slides. There will be 2 different pictures of me, and I think I've got a third somewhere else, so it's like a little slideshow of what I look like. I'm a white woman in my late 20s with thick blonde hair that's currently tied up in a very messy bun that I'm hoping you can't see, with large clear glasses and a stripy button-down shirt on. But yeah, so just wanted to say a couple of words. I'm still hugely grateful to have won the award and to have received recognition for not only the scope and ambition of the Heritage Access project, but also the results that we delivered. We worked on the project within a 6-month time frame, and we had to deliver some pretty significant results within that time frame. I was brought on at the beginning of March to join Vocalize in the middle of recruiting volunteers for the project, and we delivered our report by October after a 3-month research period completed by our volunteers. So we had to turn around a huge amount of work, and our volunteers truly outdid themselves. They were a great group of dedicated and curious volunteers, which I think is one of the most valuable identifiers you can really have is curiosity. When combined with passion, it's a perfect combination in my experience. Our volunteers completed a varying amount of research looking at different heritage site websites across the UK, and delivered data on over 3,000 venues, and allowed us to complete the Heritage Access Report, which, as I mentioned, was published in October. I spoke at the Heritage Volunteering Group Conference in November, I believe it was, when I was awarded the Volunteer Leader of the Year, and it was a really great conference. I personally really enjoyed it, but since then we have received an extension on the funding of the project. So when I spoke at the conference, I was expecting to be wrapping up, or have wrapped up a good few months ago now, but it's really fantastic that the Heritage Fund were able to offer us an extension, and we are now moving into a very different phase of the project. Regrettably, it's not volunteer led as the first part was. This is much more focusing on delivering training with our existing freelancers, but also we have had the opportunity to open two paid positions within Vocalise for freelancers, and we've been able to turn the volunteering role into these two paid positions that our volunteers were invited to apply for. So it's really fantastic that we've been able to keep up that relationship with them. Heritage volunteer managers are, of course, incredibly important. I don't need to tell the group this, but it is really wonderful to see such a large group, such as the Heritage Volunteering Group, over 500 members, who all bring such a different kind of wealth of experience to the floor. I can only really speak for a handful of positions that I've held within the kind of volunteering, volunteer engagement, volunteer management sphere, and both of them have been very different. One obviously focusing on digital and remote volunteering, very much off the back of kind of the shift to digital work and roles that COVID facilitated, but then also running the volunteering programme in Camden with the NHS for the COVID-19 vaccine, which was completely different in that it was completely in person. Every kind of group of volunteers is different, and I think it's not just important to recognise the work that we as volunteer managers do, but also the work that the volunteers do. As Matthew mentioned, we all know that, of course, purse strings are tighter than ever before, and we are in a cost of living crisis in the UK. And I, for one, am worried about the effect that this is having on volunteering. So our role remains more important than ever. I just wanted to also give a quick shout out for this year's award. I'm not sure when nominations for that open, I'm afraid, but I'm hoping that one of the members of the team will be able to tell the group. But I personally have found it really wonderful to have that professional recognition. I don't know if that says more about me and my need for approval than anything else, but it was really fantastic to be recognised in this way. And I really recommend, if you have colleagues or kind of maybe in your own volunteering outside of your paid work projects that you think really deserve that recognition as well, then I really would recommend nominating them. It's been really wonderful to receive, and to have also had the benefit of time with Rob as well, which, as someone who is still, I would say, in the kind of early to mid stages, maybe not mid, early stages of my career, that time kind of having one-to-one with Rob was really, really valuable as well. So I'd really recommend thinking about your teams and how they could be recognised, and thank you very much again for the award. It's been fantastic, and I really have no doubt that it will really help me professionally as well. And also, of course, a massive shout out to our volunteers. They still remain a fantastic group, and we have also managed to retain some of our volunteers for a separate project that we're working on this year, called State of Theatre Access. So our retention has been quite high, which is fantastic as well. But yeah, thank you very much, and I'll hand back to Rob.
Thank you, Catrin. That's wonderful. Thank you very much. And Vanessa's rescued me by posting in the chat that we're going to be opening nominations up in July of this year. And if you're not already aware, everybody, Heritage Volunteering 2023 will be taking place on Monday the 20th and Tuesday the 21st of November. So as Catrin said, please do consider nominating colleagues or having a quiet word with a colleague if you'd like them to nominate you. And then we can make sure that we've got plenty of nominations for the judging panel to consider. Thank you again, Catrin, and thank you, Laura. There you go. See, Vanessa's already correcting me because I'm getting the wrong dates in place. But you've figured it out by now. And thank you, Laura, who I know has not been able to stay with us, for speaking, and all of you for attending the AGM. Sarah, do I need to hand back to you to formally close the meeting?
No, you can declare the meeting formally closed yourself if you would like, if there are no questions for anybody.
So this is your final chance for any questions. No. In which case,
sorry, Rob, just while people are thinking of any questions they might have, I just want to say a massive thank you to you and Sarah for organising today. It's been a lot of work, as our events are. So I just want to say a massive thank you to both of you, and of course to everybody else that's been involved in making today run. Rhiannon behind the scenes, making sure Zoom works, and our speakers as well. So thank you, everyone, and yeah, really appreciate it.
And thank you to our fellow exec board member, Tamsin, who, when the weather is nice, always makes sure that she joins meetings from the garden so that we always get a bit of blue sky whilst we are having one of our meetings. So thank you very much, Tamsin. Lovely. In which case, given the way that the weather is looking for this weekend, I hope everybody has a lovely weekend and don't get yourselves too sunburned. And thank you very much for attending our first ever AGM. It will not be a year before we see you again. Hopefully we'll engage with you in some of the events this year. And that's the first AGM officially closed. Thank you all very much.